Hello my dear little champions, I welcome you all to score 99% in 99 days series. Today is day 8 and today we are going to continue with our chapter that is life processes, my dear children. We have completed one life process, that is what? Nutrition. And today we are going to talk about respiration in a whole. So within 30-40 minutes we are going to complete the whole topic. You would be exam ready. Okay. So what are all the subtopics that we are going to study today? Breathing in animals, breathing in fishes, breathing in plants. We are going to have a quick fun comparison. You would love it, trust me on that. Yeah, and before starting this I should be asking you a question. What do you mean by respiration? So someone among you just think that you have answered that, ma'am, respiration is a process where we take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. So can I say it is actually respiration that I am talking about, taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide? It's just inhalation and exhalation. I can call it breathing, right? I can call this process as breathing. Don't you think respiration is kind of something different? Yes, it is different. I can say breathing is a process where I am taking in carbon dioxide, I am taking in oxygen and giving out what? Carbon dioxide. Agree? I am taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide, right? So this is in, this is out. But why am I actually taking in oxygen? What's the need for it? Because you know what, in our body, in the presence of oxygen, the food that is there, it is broken down to give out energy. To give out energy. Only in the presence of oxygen, the food that is glucose can be broken down to give out energy. Okay, and also in this process, as a byproduct, CO2 is being released, which is why we say that in our body, when we take in oxygen, CO2 is being formed and that is being released. So this is the source of CO2, which is something that we give out during the breathing process. So respiration and breathing is kind of interlinked. I can call this process as cellular respiration, to be precise. So I'll say, if you do not breathe, you do not get oxygen. If there is no oxygen, can the food get broken down to energy, children? No, no, it cannot. Actually, it can be. There's a different form of it. So one very important thing, when you need oxygen for the breakdown of food, okay, this type of respiration is known as aerobic respiration. This is known as aerobic respiration when you need oxygen. And when this type of respiration happens, aerobic respiration happens, what happens is that there is too much amount of energy that is being formed. On the other hand, when in our body there is no much amount of oxygen, at this point of time, anaerobic respiration happens. That means just omit this oxygen over here. Glucose will be still broken down to energy, but the amount of energy that will be formed is what, children? Could be very, very less. It would be very, very less, and also there could be formation of something else which we do not need. So in our body, we generally do not prefer anaerobic respiration and we cannot sustain with this. It is okay for some time, but for always we cannot prefer that. We always need oxygen such that glucose is broken down into much amount of energy and things like that, and everything goes smooth. So respiration and breathing is kind of different. Breathing, I can say it's a mechanical process of inhalation and exhalation, which I would definitely need in the process of cellular respiration, where actually food is broken down to give me energy. So if I want to define both of things, I can define it something like this. So breathing is what? A mechanical action of getting air in and out of the respiratory organ, that is our lungs. Now what do you mean by respiration? How you can define respiration, my dear children? You can say that it is a physiochemical process or physiological process, either way. Physiochemical process of breakdown of food, that is generally glucose, to give what? To give out energy. This is what you mean by respiration, and these two things are kind of interlinked, because if you do not have oxygen, then respiration would not be taking place properly. As I said, respiration can happen without oxygen also, that is known as anaerobic respiration, but in the case of human beings, we prefer aerobic respiration more. You'll get to know all about that, okay? Now, going ahead, I hope that you got the basics Okay, now how is the food broken down? First step that you have over here is known as glycolysis. So I want you to go inside the cell. So as of now, just imagine that you guys are inside a cell. Inside the cell, when you look, okay, it's an open playground where you have cytoplasm. Okay, the open playground. For example, if this is a cell, this is a nucleus, then this area, this plain area that you see over here, it is cytoplasm, and in the cytoplasm you have different organelles that float. I am just going to make one organelle, that is the mitochondria. So presently I am over here. Okay, presently I am over here in the cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm, what is happening to me? I am glucose molecule. Okay, I am glucose molecule. Let's see what is happening to me. So glucose, if you know, it is having 6 carbons. It is known as C6H12O6. What is it? C6H12O6. Okay, if you are someone who is very curious about it, so basically it has 6 carbons like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And similarly, it has so many hydrogen also. Okay, I'm not going to make my board look bad with that, but I hope you got it. Now, in the cytoplasm, with the help of certain enzymes, the glucose is broken down to 2 molecules of pyruvate. Why, ma'am, 2 molecules of pyruvate? Because glucose is 6 carbon, the pyruvate guy is 3 carbon molecule. So, yes, the pyruvate guy is 3 carbon molecule. So 6, if I want to break into 2, I'll get 3 and 3. So this is 3 carbon molecule, this is also 3 carbon molecule. What is this, children? Pyruvate. What do you call this? Pyruvate. And what do you call this process as? You call this process as glycolysis. And where am I standing as of now? I am in the cytoplasm. So everything that I'm talking about as of now is happening in the cytoplasm. So in the cytoplasm, glucose did the first step of its breakdown, that is, it broke down into pyruvate. 2 molecules of pyruvate, one here, one here. Okay? Got it? This is happening in the cytoplasm. This is known as glycolysis. Now the twist happens. So now the pyruvate says, if you want me to break down further, I need really good atmosphere and everything. I need oxygen. Okay, if you want me to break down properly, okay, then I need oxygen. And for oxygen, children, this particular pyruvate has to go somewhere else. And what is that somewhere else, children? The next stop, that is our mitochondria. So now you have to imagine that basically you are inside the mitochondria. This pyruvate guy will be slowly moving inside the mitochondria. Let's go. Okay, what happens in the mitochondria? For that we have to go to the next slide. Over here, okay, let's have some suspense first. So over here, this pyruvate gets converted to something that is known as acetyl-CoA. Okay, this acetyl-CoA gets into a cycle of reaction which is very famously known as Krebs cycle. What is it known as, children? It is known as Krebs cycle. So acetyl-CoA, which just formed, it went into a cycle, it went on reacting with lot of stuffs, and at the end it got the same thing, that is, it started off with oxaloacetate. It started off by reacting with oxaloacetate. Okay, acetyl-CoA reacted with oxaloacetate, and then the whole reaction happened. At the end, you again got oxaloacetate. Now, if you're finding it difficult to remember the terms, it's okay. I just want to tell you the basic thing. I just want you to have an idea of how it forms energy. Everyone says that glucose helps in the formation of energy. I want you to understand it as well. Okay, so presently in the mitochondria, this is happening. Okay, in the mitochondria, all this thing is happening. But why am I doing this? Basically because I want certain energy molecules such as GTP, okay, such as GTP, okay, NADP. These are all energy currencies. For example, you can think as a currency. Dollar is the biggest currency that we have as of now. Think. Okay, for us the dollar is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. This is the dollar that we are having. It has the highest amount of energy, highest amount of value. Okay, why do I call it an energy molecule? That also you should be knowing. Basically, ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. So there is adenosine sugar, or basically a nucleotide. Okay, and basically adenosine is having 3 phosphate molecules attached to it, and there is too much amount of energy being stored in the phosphate bonds, which is over here. So now when this particular molecule is used in certain reaction, it breaks down its bond and releases all the energy. So we say that all its energy is stored in the bond, which is why we say that this particular molecule is the energy currency of the cell. You need this for any chemical reaction to happen. Now, here in this particular process, I am making GTP, NADP, which are other currencies of other countries which does not have too much value, but basically these guys can be converted, or basically these guys can help in the formation of ATP. So which is why I am forming them over here. Okay, ATP needs their help. So they are being formed over here. Similarly, one more thing is being formed over here, that is CO2. CO2 is being formed over here. H2O is also being formed over here. Okay, CO2, H2O, everything is being formed over here. Now, the next step happens where these guys are used up. Okay, so I am writing GTP, NADP, everything is used up, and also our main guy, that is oxygen that we took in while breathing, that guy's presence is also needed to help in the formation of our main guy, that is ATP. Okay, and this is known as, this cycle that is happening over here, this is known as ETC cycle. I know you might be confused, which is why I'll be repeating it. So pyruvate said, I cannot stay over here. Okay, I have to go somewhere very airy where oxygen is there, then only I can do the whole process of making energy. So basically pyruvate got inside got inside the mitochondria, but then it got to know that it cannot stay as pyruvate. It has to get converted to something that is known as acetyl-CoA. This acetyl-CoA got friends with oxaloacetate. They had so many reactions in here, okay, and at the end again you are ending up with oxaloacetate somehow. This whole cycle that is being there, it happening in the mitochondria, it's known as Krebs cycle, where you get GTP, NADP, CO2 and H2. Let's keep CO2 and H2O aside, okay. Now these guys, which are the low energy currency molecules, are used up, okay, are used in some or the other way, okay, in the presence of oxygen, okay, in this particular cycle which is known as ETC cycle or electron transport chain cycle, to finally form ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. So I say finally, from my glucose, what am I getting, my dear children? I am getting my energy currency. I am getting energy. Apart from this, what I am getting, children? I am getting CO2. Apart from this, what I am getting, children? I am getting H2. So the whole process of energy breakdown, it includes glucose gives rise to two molecules of pyruvate. There are two molecules of pyruvate, which again, okay, here also some amount of energy is being produced. Here also some amount of energy is being produced somehow, okay. Please remember that also. Then later on some pyruvate gets inside, it forms acetyl-CoA, then the whole reaction happens, and at the end you get ATP, my dear children, along with CO2 and H2. This is the CO2 that you breathe out. Okay, this is the CO2 that you breathe out. I hope you got it. Works? So this was happening in the cytoplasm and mitochondria, and this is known as aerobic respiration. This is known as aerobic respiration. At the end you get almost 38 ATP, 36 to 38 ATPs, okay, 36 38 ATP molecules. If you want, I can write the full form of ATP. It is adenosine triphosphate. I'll be giving you out the whole reactions, okay, once I teach you about anaerobic also. So adenosine triphosphate is a thing that is being formed. Works? Okay. Now aerobic respiration is done because it is happening in the presence of oxygen. Now let's talk about anaerobic respiration. That is the next thing that we have. So over here there are two scenarios that is given, okay. One is in the case of yeast. So yeast, no, when there is no oxygen, you might have seen that people seal the yeast along with the fruits and all and keep it like that for fermentation, so that we make wine, and wine has what, children? Alcohol in it. So where is the alcohol coming from? Basically the yeast is doing something that is known as anaerobic respiration. What is it doing, children? It is doing anaerobic respiration. And in yeast, you call this process of making alcohol and everything as what? You call this whole process as, I'll write it, fermentation. So in fermentation, what happens to the pyruvate? The pyruvate basically forms ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. So carbon dioxide and energy is kind of common here and there. Water is not being formed here. Instead of water, what is there? We have ethanol. So instead of water, because you know in wine there is alcohol, so you have ethanol, that is also a alcohol. So you have to replace like that and you have to learn it. Okay. So here also energy is being formed. So ma'am, why are we not just utilizing this process? Okay, in our body also this can happen. No, what's the problem? What's the big deal? Anyway, energy is going to be released. But the problem is the energy that is being formed over here, children, it is very, very less, as I said. Okay, and this is in the case of yeast. In the case of yeast, you have ethanol, you have carbon dioxide, and you have energy. What happens in our body if there is anaerobic condition? For example, I have started jogging. After a point of time, I got tired. Jasmine, done. Okay, for example, I am teaching you. Now I am tired, I didn't have food or anything like that. Okay, I am talking. There's no oxygen. What happens is that my muscle cells, which needs oxygen, it won't be getting enough amount of oxygen. It will start doing the muscles, no? In the muscles, the pyruvate basically converts to lactic acid and energy when, children, in the absence of oxygen. So in the initial time, I would be able to survive really, really nice because I had the energy. So it's all cool for me. Okay, so it's all cool for me. When does the problem arise? When this lactic acid starts to get accumulated. This lactic acid, when it starts to get accumulated, what happens, children? I'll be getting muscle cramps. Okay, I'll be getting muscle cramps. So you might have noticed that if you run for so long without any rest, your legs starts to have cramps. Why so? Because you are respiring anaerobically. There is anaerobic respiration happening in the absence of oxygen, which is why all this thing is happening, my dear children. Got it? Did you get it? Okay, so that is the whole funda of it. Okay, now I'll be just explaining you once more and then we will move ahead with everything that we have studied. Okay, all together I have a reaction. This reaction is from your NCERT, is very much important. So basically over here, the glucose is getting broken down to pyruvate only with the help of glycolysis. It is happening in the cytoplasm. Now, this time in anaerobic respiration, the pyruvate does not say that I have to get inside to have air, because anyways there is no need of air. Okay, there is no oxygen required over here. So basically in the case of yeast, this pyruvate is going to convert into ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy, my dear children. And this process is known as fermentation. Okay, what do you call this process as? You call this as fermentation. This is the mode of anaerobic respiration in the case of yeast. Now going ahead talking about the next thing that happens in the case of human beings. Okay, in our muscle cells, what is happening? The pyruvate, when there is absence of oxygen, it is getting converted to lactic acid and energy. And when this lactic acid gets accumulated, you get what, children? You get muscle cramps. Done? Now let's learn it all together. Okay, so remember something like this is given in your NCERT. This is very much important. They will give you fill in the blanks and ask you to fill things. Okay, so glucose to pyruvate. Glucose is 6 carbon. There are 2 pyruvate that is being, it's important. Notice the details. Okay, so write 2 pyruvate whenever needed if there is a blank or they are asking you to correct the things. So 2 pyruvate, which is having 3 carbon. Okay, plus energy is being released. What do you call this process as? You call this as glycolysis or glycolysis. Where is it happening, children? It is happening in the cytoplasm. Works? Now, in the case of yeast, in the absence of oxygen, ethanol is being formed, carbon dioxide is being formed, energy is being formed. Anyways, everywhere energy will be formed because this whole process is for formation of energy only. Respiration is for energy only, right? Now, but the amount of energy will be way too less. Okay. Now, in the case of muscles, in the absence of oxygen, lactic acid and energy is being formed. Okay. Again, lactic acid is also a 3 carbon compound. Now, going ahead, in the case of mitochondria, whenever in mitochondria it is written, just understand it is happening in the presence of oxygen, my dear children. Okay. So here carbon dioxide, water and energy is being formed. Remember, carbon dioxide and water that you see over here, they are nothing but byproducts. So they will ask you what is the byproduct of aerobic respiration. It is carbon dioxide and water. Works? Will you be able to solve it? Okay. Chalo. Let's go ahead. So this is all about respiration and breathing, and now we are going to talk about breathing in plants during daytime. So how do you think the plants breathe, my dear children? How do you think gaseous exchange take place in the case of plants? They do not have nostrils and things like that. So I hope that everyone knows that they have stomata, okay, which are pores that they have. We studied in nutrition and plants, where, okay, for people, nice question, I just thought of it. For people who have seen my video, or anyone who have not seen my video also, you can try to attempt. Where do you find most amount of stomata? At the top of the leaf or the bottom of the leaf? Where do you find the most amount of stomata? At the top of the leaf or the bottom of the leaf? Tell me in the comment section. Okay. So gaseous exchange basically happens with the help of diffusion only. For example, there is too much amount of carbon dioxide outside, there is too less amount of carbon dioxide inside. Plants will take carbon dioxide from there to inside. Okay, that's how things work. So stomata is the basic thing that everyone has. The plant, basically the leaves and everything has. Okay, the leaves have stomata. Apart from that, if you talk about woody stems, woody stems, no, they have something which is known as lenticels. Okay, what do you call it? You call this lenticels. Okay, apart from that, you have intercellular spaces as well. What do you mean by intercellular spaces? So basically, this is a plant. Okay, there will be spaces in between the cells. So from here also the gases could be moving outside. Okay, so there are three ways in which the plants can breathe, that is stomata, that is lenticels in woody stems, and intercellular spaces. And this happens because of diffusion. Things move from a region of higher concentration to a lower concentration. So now in daytime, what is going to happen? In daytime, you know, sun is right there. So photosynthesis has to take place. So it is visible or not? Yes, it is visible. So photosynthesis takes place where carbon dioxide is taken from the atmosphere and oxygen basically is given out. Agree? Now respiration is also happening over here. Okay, where again you need oxygen. You need oxygen, and what do you give out, children? You give out carbon dioxide. But do you think this carbon dioxide can move out of the plant? It can go out? No, because in photosynthesis you have higher requirements for that. So basically this carbon dioxide is totally used for this photosynthesis during the daytime. Whereas when you talk about oxygen, little amount of oxygen, yes, it goes out. Okay, a little amount of oxygen is taken in from outside also. Okay, for the process of respiration. So in daytime, if you see, the carbon dioxide is trapped somewhere around here. So we say that in daytime the oxygen is something that is found in more amount, whereas CO2 is kind of less. We'll read what is given in your NCERT, but just understand the basic. CO2, why is it less in the atmosphere? Because it is basically taken for photosynthesis, because it's daytime and it is required. Okay, photosynthesis will be regularly happening, so you require the CO2. So little amount of oxygen is there. I'm not saying little amount of oxygen is not being utilized here. It is utilized here for respiration, but still you have some scope to live some amount of O2 outside. Okay, now the next thing. What happens in night time? Okay, so this is what I just explained. I'm not going to explain again. This would be a waste of time. Okay, so I hope you got that during daytime oxygen is released more than carbon dioxide. So in your NCERT there is a phrase that is written. I would be reading out for you, and you have to write it like that only in exams also. Okay, I'm going forward. And here I have something for you. Yes, there is Diksha's scholastic aptitude test. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but yes, it's there. It's important. So I have to tell you. So what do you do with that? So if you are someone who is very confused about what you should be doing after 10th, my dear children, so we have organized something for you where you will be having a 60-minute concept-based lecture. After this lecture, you will be allowed to have an aptitude test. Okay, once you give the test, then there will be one-on-one counseling. Then depending on your marks, the counselor would suggest to you a stream that you should be probably choosing. Okay, they will be giving you a better idea. So most of the times we are confused as to what we should be doing after 10th, which stream we should be choosing. So they will be giving you a lot of good ideas as well as career guidance. So if you want to avail that opportunity, there's a link given in the description box. You can click on that and you can try for it. Works? Okay. Now let's see what happens in the night time. At the night time, things are going to get twisted a bit. So over here, at night, in respiration, you know, carbon dioxide will be released. Agree? Okay, what about photosynthesis, my dear children? What about photosynthesis? So at night time, you know that the rate of photosynthesis would be comparatively lesser because sun is not there. Okay, sun is not there, so you do not have the chemical light energy, and hence chemical energy is not formed, hence reduction of carbon dioxide would not be happening very much. So I'd say only a little amount of carbon dioxide is being utilized over here, rest of the carbon dioxide is being released. But what about the oxygen? What about the oxygen, my dear children? Initially in photosynthesis, oxygen was being released, which is why some amount of oxygen can go out also, because the plant is having enough to being utilized also. But over here at night, photosynthesis is not happening, the rate is quite of less. So what will happen, children? All the oxygen which is there will be utilized over here. So in atmosphere, if you see the amount of oxygen, okay, the amount of oxygen, it will be less, whereas when talk about CO2, it will be more. Because at night photosynthesis rate is less, CO2 won't be required. In respiration, CO2 is released, it will be continuously releasing. Whereas in respiration, you need oxygen, so that is taken. Okay, in photosynthesis, there is very limited amount of oxygen that is being released, so you won't find enough amount of oxygen, which is why plants have to take it from the atmosphere, which is why we say at night we should not be sleeping near the plant. Okay, people have so many different superstitious things as well. The only thing why we say that we should not be sleeping under the plants, because of this reason that it will be having more amount of carbon dioxide in it rather than oxygen. So that's the simplest wonder, because photosynthesis is not prominently happening over here. Okay, now something that is given in your NCERT that we should be reading. At night, when there is no photosynthesis occurring, CO2 elimination is the major exchange activity going on. At night, CO2 exchange is the major activity. Okay, please remember. During the day, CO2 generated during the respiration is used up for photosynthesis. Hence, there is no CO2 release. So, according to NCERT, there is no CO2 release, but I will definitely suggest there is CO2 release, but the amount of CO2 would be comparatively lesser. So, let's go along with NCERT. So, okay, let's go along with NCERT and say that during daytime, since photosynthesis is happening, the CO2 is not being released at all, it's all being utilized. Instead, oxygen release is the major event at night. So, during daytime, in short, according to what NCERT says, during daytime, oxygen is more, during night, CO2 is more. Works? Cool? Okay. So that's about the plants. That's about the plants, and now we are going inside water, my dear children. We are going to talk about breathing in fishes, which is very much interesting. So do you think that fishes basically they have lungs? Do you think that they have lungs like us? No, children. They have small little cute gills, okay? And these gills are used for the exchange of gases. So in the case of plants, they had stomata, they had intercellular spaces, they had lenticels. In the case of these cute little animals, they have what, children? They have gills for exchange of gases, okay? Now, we say that the rate of respiration or rate of breathing, in the case of fishes, it's quite high. So you might have seen them doing this. I look like a dog when I did it, but it generally happens like that in the case of fishes. Why do you think they breathe so fast? What is the reason for that? Because the thing is that in the water, the amount of dissolved oxygen is kind of really less. Okay, the amount of dissolved oxygen, no, it is kind of really less. So which is why, for example, they gulped little amount of water, but that water had very little amount of oxygen, so they had to gulp it more. This is their way of breathing. They do not have that thing to breathe, right? So obviously from the gills and from mouth they take in water that passes through the gills, so it has to be really fast. So which is why we say that they take almost 100 breaths per minute, because there is so less amount of dissolved oxygen in each breath. So they have to do it really fast. Okay, now we'll see how do they actually do it as well. So over here, see, for example, this is the mouth. They take in water, along with the water, what came in, children? Dissolved oxygen. So this water when moved out, it moved in the body, and from the body it is going to move out through the gills. Okay, it went in the body. Now in the body it goes to the gills. From the gills it passes outside. The water passes outside. Now who stays back there? It is the oxygen that stays back there. Now who is the one that will be carrying the oxygen, children? So these gills, no, they are richly supplied with blood vessels, as you can see over here. Okay, so the blood vessels which are there, they take in the oxygen. They say we do not have oxygen. The blood cells, for example, this is the blood cell. Okay, I'm just making it like this so that you remember it. I should be making in red. They are like, we need oxygen, we need oxygen. So they take in all the oxygens because in them the amount of oxygen is kind of less, right? From higher concentration it will go to lower concentration, so it will get inside the cells, and now the blood is being transported. So this blood which is going from the gills, it will be oxygenated blood. Why do I call it oxygenated, my dear children? Because it has too much amount of oxygen. Now this oxygenated blood goes to different body parts, all the body parts, wherever it is needed. Okay, from the body parts, I said respiration is happening within each cell, my dear children. Within each cell respiration is happening, so it gave oxygen to this particular cell. Over here respiration will be happening, so oxygen is being utilized, and at the end you get energy, you get CO2. Now CO2 is that something that this guy has to take back outside. Okay, so basically now the next thing that will be given is CO2. So the blood is not anymore oxygenated. I will say it is deoxygenated. What will I call it, children? I will call it deoxygenated because the amount of oxygen will be less, amount of CO2 would be kind of more. Okay, now this deoxygenated blood will move from the body parts, it will move to the gill and move outside. So mouth, then you have gills, then from gills it goes to the blood vessels because gills have blood vessels surrounding it. From the blood vessels it goes to the body parts. This is oxygenated blood, and then from the body parts deoxygenated blood goes to the heart. Okay, I missed that particular portion. So it goes to the heart pumps it back to the gills. Heart will pump it back to the gills. So there is one sad thing that is happening over here, if you have noticed. In the poor fish's case, the heart never receives, the heart never gets a chance to pump oxygenated blood. I'm not saying the heart cells not get oxygen. No, it's not like that. For them, there is different blood vessels and things like associated. I'm saying that the heart never gets a chance to pump oxygenated blood like us. In our case, they get a chance to pump oxygenated blood, but over here, they are not getting that chance. So basically, the oxygenated blood goes to the body parts. In the body parts, the oxygen is utilized, carbon dioxide is got. That is why we say it's deoxygenated. It goes to the heart pumps deoxygenated blood, and then it goes to the gill. One little thing about heart that I should be saying over here, they have two-chambered heart. Probably you'll remember better if I say it now. Okay, anyways, I'll be talking about that in transportation, but I just wanted you to know. So they have what, children? They have a two-chambered heart. Works for you? Okay, so that's all. That's all in the case of fishes. Just you have to remember, why do they breathe fast? Because they have very less amount of dissolved oxygen in the water. That's why they breathe really fast. Okay, now next thing. Breathing in the case of human beings. What happens in the case of human beings? How do we breathe? So we have a whole big system, okay, which is known as a respiratory system, which starts from this, that is your nose, and basically ends up in your lungs. Okay, so let's start talking about that. So you have your nostrils, okay. So the outer thing that you see over here, these are known as external nares. So do not get confused if they are asking you the pathway. So you have external nares, then you have internal nares. The internal area after you get inside, that is known as internal nares. Okay, so external nares, then internal nares, then you know this particular region is known as what? Pharynx. I told you, right? So when you open your mouth, when you open your nose, there is a common region that you end up with, that is known as pharynx. So this common region is known as pharynx, my dear children, which is why sometimes whatever we eat also comes back to our nose, because it has connection. Okay, now if you go ahead, my dear children, you have two pathways. So I'll say your pharynx is a junction, because pharynx, no, it can come from here. Okay, it gets received something from here, it gets received, this is the mouth, this is the nose, this is your pharynx, this area is your pharynx. Pharynx moves down, and then it has one chamber going here, one chamber going there. This is your food pipe, and this is your windpipe. Now, food which comes over here should not be going here in the windpipe, right? So there should be someone who should be stopping things from going there. That is known as epiglottis. So there is a flap tissue that you can see over here, which is known as epiglottis, which opens and closes. Okay. Now going ahead, if you say that this is what, children, this is your trachea. This is your trachea, the next thing that you have. And trachea, no, basically they have rings of cartilage. They have what? Rings of cartilage. Why do you think that they have rings of cartilage, my dear children? So that it does not collapse. Does not want it to collapse, which is why they have rings of cartilage right over there. Okay, it does not collapse in that way. Now, this particular trachea that you see over here, it will divide into two things which are known as bronchi. Which are known as bronchi. Now, the bronchi will be broken down to bronchioles. Okay, and the bronchioles would be opening up to air sacs, small globular air sacs, which are known as small globular air sacs, which are known as alveolus or alveoli. Similarly, you will find it here as well. Okay, so what did we have, children? We have external layers, internal layers, pharynx, then you have trachea, from trachea bronchi, from bronchi bronchioles, then you have alveolus. Okay. Now, you can remember in this way also, metabolic poison leaves the body by airways. What is metabolic poison? Basically, at the end of metabolic reaction, all the chemical reaction, you get carbon dioxide, right? So that is a poison. So it is written mouth over here. M stands for mouth. Basically, it's not mouth, it should be nose. Okay. So M, P for pharynx, L for larynx, T for trachea, B for bronchi, B for bronchioles, A for alveolus. In some way, if it's useful for you, then you can remember. But please remember, it's not M mouth, it's N nose. Okay, so you can remember somehow like that. I just gave you a basic idea if you want. Okay, now before going into diaphragm, I want to tell you what is the use of alveoli over here. So alveoli, just like how your lungs, how your gills were covered by blood vessels, the alveoli is also richly supplied with blood vessels. And I'll tell you one more thing, the alveoli is covering, no, it's like very thin. It's a very thin sac. It's what, children? It's a very thin sac that you see over here. So basically, this oxygen that comes up over here, okay, how did the oxygen come? I didn't tell about that. So basically, when we breathe, we are taking oxygen. This oxygen is going to my lungs, into my alveoli. Now I have too much amount of oxygen. Okay. Now in my blood vessels there will be cells. In my blood vessels there will be cells. And what are these cells carrying, my dear children? I think I need one more. Okay. This is the alveoli, which is having too much amount of oxygen because I just took a breath. And then over here I have blood vessels, which is having blood cells. What are these blood cells carrying, children? They are rich in carbon dioxide as of now. Okay, because they went to other cells, they gave the oxygen and they took back the carbon dioxide. So this is the deoxygenated blood that is coming around here. Okay, so now what has to be done, children? This oxygen should be moving here and this carbon dioxide should be moving there. So that is what exactly happens. Oxygen, because it's partial pressure, okay, because it's partial pressure, or basically its concentration is kind of higher over here and lower over here, it will move down towards this side, whereas carbon dioxide will be moving towards that side. So I'll say your alveoli, which was like this, will now be like this. And what happened to your blood cells, children? Your blood cells will be now happy because they got oxygen. Now they will take in to heart. The heart will pump this oxygenated blood to different organs. Okay, the heart will pump the blood to different body parts. From the body parts, it will be back again to the heart. From the heart, it will pump the blood to the lungs. In the lungs, this whole thing happens. Okay, so basically, just if you're not able to imagine all this thing, just imagine that your cells are requiring oxygen. So whenever the blood cell gave them oxygen, they are giving back as a return gift carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide has to move out, when it will be going out when it comes to contact with the alveoli, which is having too much amount of oxygen. So oxygen comes over here, carbon dioxide goes over there and things happen. Okay, that's how. Now this when we breathe out, we are giving out. Look, this is the carbon dioxide that I am giving outside. Okay, works? I hope you got it. Yeah. Now, what is the role of diaphragm over here? So, diaphragm is a muscular tissue that you find over here. What it does it do? So, I want to tell you one thing, that is this particular region where everything is located. You call this region as what, children? You call this region as thoracic cavity. This is thoracic cavity where my heart, my lungs, and everything is present. Now, at the end of thoracic cavity, I have diaphragm, okay, which separates my body to thoracic cavity and abdominal cavity where my stomach and everything is there. So, this diaphragm, if I push it down, I would have a little more space, right? If I push it down like this, right now it's like this, but now if I make it like this, I have bit more space for things to enlarge. So basically the diaphragm, when I say it contracts, okay, when I say it kind of contracts like this, okay, as of now it's like this, now it is contracting like this, it is basically moving down, and now I have enough space for things, for oxygen or other gases to get inside my lungs. Now while breathing out, okay, now when I breathe out, it relaxes and it will be moving up. Or you can remember in this way, okay. So I'll say basically when I am breathing out, okay, when I breathe out, I say I'm relaxed like this. So this is a curved thing that is being formed over here. I don't want to confuse you. Okay, when I am breathing out, I am going like this. You see my back, it's curved. So here also it's a curved thing that is being formed. I have taken a breath outside, and basically you see the thoracic cavity is now small. Whereas on the other hand, when I say that it's going to contract, it goes like this. Okay, it goes like this. At this particular point of time, I am taking in more area for more gases to come inside. So please remember, which is why I am telling you 10,000 times, because contraction you always associate with curving up. It's not like that. Here it's ulta, here it's opposite of it. So contraction basically means it's going like that and you have more space. Relaxation basically means you're going like this. So always remember, when you relax, you go like this. And when this happens, basically when you're relaxing, you're breathing out also. Okay, you can think like that if it works. Okay, because they will ask you, when diaphragm contracts, what happens? Thoracic cavity increases or decreases? So when diaphragm contracts, my dear children, thoracic cavity, its space increases. When diaphragm relaxes like this, okay, when it gets curved up like this, so obviously the space becomes really, really less. It moves up. And when we breathe out, we actually relax our diaphragm. So I hope this is also clear, and with this we are completing respiration, my dear children. There's one little question that is left, we'll complete that also. Chalo, let's see. Can diffusion pressure above help with transport of oxygen? Oh, alone, not above, it's alone. I'm not able to understand my language. How will you understand? I do not know. So can diffusion pressure alone help with the transport of oxygen in the case of human beings, my dear children? What do you think so? Question time. So just imagine diffusion is happening. Oxygen is more here, oxygen is less here. Oxygen gets inside the cells over here. Now what about the cells which is there inside my body? If diffusion alone has to go get things done, then probably it will take years for the cells inside my body to get oxygen. They will be all crying for help. This is the hand, by the way. They will be like, SOS, we do not know what to do. There is no oxygen. So diffusion is a very slow process that would be happening if you're talking about our human body. So diffusion pressure is not enough for us for transport of oxygen. We are not plants, my dear children. Okay. Now, one more very important thing, hemoglobin has higher affinity to oxygen than carbon dioxide. So, why am I talking about hemoglobin? Because the blood cells which were carrying oxygen, remember from the alveolus, they have hemoglobin. So, they are like, I do not want CO2, you take it, I just want oxygen. So, they have more affinity to oxygen than carbon dioxide, which is why they take in oxygen very quickly. Okay, please remember, it's a very important point. Carbon dioxide is more soluble in water and hence can be transported in dissolved form. So basically, when I say that this particular transport is happening over here in the blood cells, okay, it's not just in the blood cells that I will be getting CO2. Outside the blood cells also, in the plasma, in the plasma which has 95% of water, there also I will be having CO2. So it's in the cells, also in the plasma the CO2 is found, because CO2 is kind of soluble, whereas when you talk about oxygen, oxygen is not that kind of soluble, so it won't be going and mixing with the plasma and then moving around. For oxygen to get transported, we need hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the best guy for it. Okay, so please remember these two key points also, which is there in your NCERT. So certain points we tend to forget it because we do not give too much amount of importance. Now I want you to remember that. Now I can proudly say, my dear children, that we have finished this particular topic, that is respiration. If you think that you have any doubts, you can freely ask me in the comment section. I will be all the more happy when I see doubts, when I see you trying to motivate me. I also feel motivated. Just like how you need motivation, we also need motivation. And then there is one cute little experiment. We'll do that and we'll finish off. Okay, so basically I have a test tube with water, not with water, basically I have lime water. Okay, it's not sada water, it's lime water. Okay, lime water's reaction is, the chemical equation is CaOH twice, calcium hydroxide. Okay, now in this lime water, if I am putting a pichkari, okay, then there will be a little color change. But when I am putting a straw and I am breathing out, what will happen, children? Over here, the lime water, it turns out to be milky in color. Why, children? Why is this happening? When I am breathing out in the test tube, why is the lime water turning milky? Because there is a formation of something that is known as calcium carbonate, CaCO3. Now, why do you think this reaction is happening? Because while we are breathing out, we are giving out carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide and when lime water, that is CaOH type, comes together, you get the precipitate, that is CaCO3, that is calcium carbonate, which turns everything, let's say, milky. Later on, it will precipitate down because it's insoluble in water. You get it? So this happens because we are exhaling carbon dioxide. So this is a proof that yes, we are exhaling carbon dioxide during the process of breathing. Works. Whereas over here you do not find it. Okay, now there's a small little cute homework for you. Please complete the following pathway showing breakdown of glucose. You can write homework. Question number 1. So glucose in cytoplasm converts to what, and what is being formed over here? Okay, converts into what, and then what happens here also in the next process. In the next step, what is being produced? Tell me. Okay, so how you can answer is that you can put A over here and answer, and you can put B over here and answer. Okay. So now again, so Deeksha Scholastic Aptitude Test is there, my dear children, which you can freely avail. So make use of that. Go to the link that is given in the description box, click on that, and you would be asked to fill a form. You just have to do it. How can it help you? It will help you guide through what career should be the best for you, what course or stream you should be choosing. Okay, there will be a 60 minutes lecture, then an aptitude test, then a one-on-one counseling. Okay, and after that they will be telling you what the best stream that could suit you the best. And it will help you really, really well, especially during the tough times where you do not know what to do after 10th and all. It becomes all the more easy. So you can try it out as well. Now, if you think that this particular video was useful, helpful, okay, was entertaining, then do not forget to subscribe to our channel. And I hope my all little cute champions are studying really, really well and really, really hard as well. And I wish you all the very best for your exams, my dear children. If you think you like the video, do not forget to hit a subscribe button and also share the video with your friends. And do not forget to leave cute little comments as well. So that's all. Bye-bye. Take care.